Hey everybody, I'm here to talk to you about my really awesome friend, Dr. Dandelion. Now, Dandelion is one of my favorite plant friends. Um, One of my first plants that I really kind of like fell in love with eating and consuming kind of for my health. Um, She grows everywhere. She originally comes from France. Dandelion means teeth of the lion. And so the leaves here you can see kind of are like spears because they kind of look like lion's teeth, and they're able to kind of like push up um, in any kind of like, leafy kind of area. But her big tooth is her root, and her root goes really down into the earth really far and is really good in breaking up really compacted soils. So a lot of people see dandelion, they think of dandelion as a weed, but what dandelion is actually doing is it's actually helping to aerate the soil. Because when that big taproot kind of goes through all the short grass clumpy roots, once that dandelion root dies, it gives all these minerals and things to the soil, and as it rots, it also creates this airy environment where if it was a very thick soil, it helps bring air and minerals to the soil. So dandelion is like a medicine for the soil and for us. It's a really amazing kind of like liver tonic. It helps things like move through, like move along. Um, and our liver is kind of something that like kind of filters our blood. Um, and so it's really good at that. This book here, Healing Wise by Susan Weed, she kind of impersonates Dandelion to be this kind of French doctor who knows exactly what you need and can heal your woes with her medicine. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about harvesting plants in general, but also specifically this dandelion. There's something that Native Americans call the honorable harvest. And so when any person is going to harvest any plant, there's some things that they consider. They consider like how many of the plant is there? Are other people going to want the plant? In harvesting the parts of this plant, am I killing the plant? Am I just taking some of the plant? And some things like that. And so a lot of times before someone harvests, maybe if I was going to harvest a bunch of dandelions, I would make one offer and then I would harvest dandelions. I wouldn't maybe make an offering for each dandelion that I harvested. But what people like to do is they like to leave an offering. That's one thing that they do. So some people will take their hair and they'll offer it to the plant. Some people, Native Americans, would place tobacco down kind of as an offering. Some people will, whatever kind of is like meaningful for them. And so today, I'm going to offer some corn chips. A lot of people like to use corn as an offering in like Indian kind of Hindu culture. So I'm going to use these corn chips because they have a meaning for me. The more the thing has a meaning to you when you're offering it, the more kind of valuable it is. So I'm going to offer these corn chips to dandelion. Here, dandelion, giving you some corn chips, and I would like to harvest you today. Can I harvest you? And so when asking the plant a question, there's like both sides of our brain come. The rational brain is kind of like, well, can I harvest this? There's tons of dandelions everywhere, and harvesting this dandelion is not going to affect the dandelion population. So I can kind of hear that answer. But then there's another part of my brain, the more kind of like unconscious side that kind of listens for something from the dandelion. Maybe I'm kind of hearing, oh, maybe not this plant or something. So when you ask the question, you want to take a moment to listen. And I went to this school called the Gaia School of Healing, and in this way of harvesting, I will put my hand on the plant and just breathe for a little bit. Just kind of like feel the dandelion Some people kind of use like this hori knife or other things to kind of harvest roots, but I'm going to show you a really easy way to use your hands. So you can actually come a little bit closer and look at this dandelion plant here. So it's kind of like a floral rosette, people say. It's all coming out of like one center in the middle of the dandelion. So right where my finger is in the middle of the dandelion is where the root goes down. So what I like to do is being like nice and kind of gentle with her. I like to kind of get some of her leaves up, and then I like to take my finger and try to put the finger down right along the root. So thank you very much, Dandelion. And I found like the kind of bud of her root right here. And I'm just going to slide my finger kind of down along the root. Kind of grab it by the roots. And once like I'm kind of down a little bit, the key is that all the medicine of the dandelion root is in the latex. It's in like this sap that lives in the root. So you want to try to get the whole root without breaking it. A lot of people will just try to pull it from the leaves and it will actually kind of break. I picked a dandelion here that has really rich soil in the garden, so it's going to be easier for me to do this. So you might be thinking, why am I just going for the root of the plant? Why am I not taking just some of the leaves to eat in a salad or to cook with? Well, I'm taking the whole plant. For the first couple years that I ate dandelion, I would just take leaves from the plant. Like if I was gonna harvest this plant, I would just take maybe 4 leaves from this plant. And that's all I would do. I wouldn't harvest the root. But because now I sometimes eat the root now, or I make tea out of it, plus I've gotten to know Dandelion enough now where I trust that we have a good relationship and that like I'm not taking too much from her. And that like I don't think that she's angry that I'm pulling the root. I think that she's actually happy that like she's being medicine for me. So that's why I'm going for the root. But I understand if you, in your relationship with Dandelion, don't immediately want to harvest her root. You just want to take some of the leaves. So this root is really, really big. So I'm trying to loosen her a little bit here. Trying to loosen a little bit around the soil. And so what I'm going to do is basically when I've gotten far down enough, I'm going to just gently tug. Very gently. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of loosening up the little kind of root hairs around. And very slow pressure. Slowly. So that she's slowly coming up. Thank you, Dandelion. Thank you. Now look at that. Look at how big that root is. And you can see right there, there's a little wound on the root. And that is the sap. It's called inulin. Some people, I've heard that sap can be very good for things on the skin like warts or burns or bruises. And the root is really good as like a tea or a coffee substitute. You can kind of like roast it and drink it in tea, but also sometimes I'll eat it. But for some people, that's really bitter. Usually the smaller ones I eat. But I've heard that if you're drying the roots out, that you actually want to leave the leaves on the dandelion, because once you really want that sap, that's like all the nutrients of the plant to stay in. If you take the leaves off, then sometimes the sap will kind of fall out. Well. Yeah, so what I like to do is I like to just eat the leaves, you know? Wow. Didn't really brush all the dirt off that one. It's a little bit bitter, but I like to say sharp. That it's really kind of like cleaning. That dandelion is a really good medicine in the spring to clean us out from some of the foods that we've been eating in the winter. I like to cook the dandelion greens with my eggs. when the dandelion flowers, I like to just eat the flowers, but you can also make dandelion fritters where you kind of like dip it in pancake batter and then eat the dandelion flowers. Making tea with the dandelions is great. And I even eat the stalks too. I just eat the dandelion flowers with the stalks. If you, in this book or many other books, you can find so many other ways and good things about dandelion being a very nutritive medicinal plant. And she's one of my favorites because she grows everywhere. So I can just eat her all the time and I always have a source of food. So, and just look at that root. Oh my God. That is just a nice one. Well, thank you for joining me for mindfully harvesting this dandelion. And I wish you all a very happy, rich spring. Brought to you by Retribe Forest School.